Kia ora from Aotearoa. Poppy here. I've got a lot of information to share, and the reason that I'm sharing this is I want it to be able to, that we can empower ourselves during this time. It's a time where if we don't know a few wonderful things about how we can be and who we are, that we could get lost and everything could feel very, very hopeless. So some of this is pretty important, and some of it comes from my meditations and my understandings and what I've discovered, and then some of it is also coming from someone, and what she's saying I highly resonate with, and it's very much in line. But out of it there will be things in here that can actually be empowering. So the awareness is really important, to know how things worked, and when we know that how things have worked and how things are, then we are more empowered to take on a way that can transcend that, and where we're not going to be subject to the global mass agendas that are going on. So a little while ago I wrote something called Global Mass Mind Control, deconstructing it, and this was about surviving weather and frequency weapon events. Now obviously we're in this big time right now, but our Earth, the natural world, has been overlaid with artificial systems and control. Original source, many people call that God, as in the true creator. Now there are other gods that are imitating or mimicking that, and you can tell because that will still be the same divide and conquer thing. Love will be absent, and it usually will come along with a lot of things like accusation and blame and name calling and all of these things that just really divide people with each other. But anyway, these original source codes, or what's in us actually, because we have the divine spark of source or the creator within us, and some of this has been taken, it's been mimicked and replicated in such a way that it created dependence in order for our survival. So in disconnecting from source or creator, the artificial systems have relied on the energy of those with the source code within to fuel these systems with their energy, worship, and perceptions. So thoughts become things, and so people have been manipulated and managed for eons to create the disharmony and chaos that keeps dependency going. Trauma, fear, torture, low-frequency emotions like shame and guilt, competition, death, decay, and taxes that have been generated and deployed. These ways have harvested the natural abilities of the people of Earth. And when you actually really come to get to know who you really are, there you'll see and realize that there isn't any room for these emotions like shame and guilt. We'll actually start to see who we really are, and this can only happen through our hearts. But artificial ways have caused reliance on a machine world to work for us, and in the process we have lost our abilities that were natural and available in an unhindered and natural state. We never used to even have to talk with others as much as we did, because we could see one another. We had telepathy, and there just wasn't that deception and trickery around, and people weren't masking, pretending. We were much more authentic before these artificial ways came in. But our natural brains are like biological computers, so and those who see themselves as elite and are connected through many secret societies from all around the world have used this esoteric knowledge to control humanity and to compartmentalize the brain and create systems in our brains for this purpose. So this came a lot through, you know, like there's been a lot of experimentation for quite a long time with MK Ultra programming. There was a lot of research done on people's brains and how they could be controlled and taken over and used, so that they were not coming from their own will, but they were coming from the will of the secret societies. And now there's all kinds of technology that's doing this en masse to people, with frequencies and all sorts of unnatural things. The most serious harm has been done through the practices of their shared religion. So according to Alice Bailey, and I got this information from a Fritz Springmeier lecture, the one world order agenda involves making a one world religion that is really Freemasonry. And we're actually beginning to see how this is infused in all of society in all of ways. And, you know, I just listened to a podcast about the weather weapon stuff and all the patents and everything like that. It's very obvious to see that all of these things come through that system. You know, they do patents and legislation and all that through governance and all these sorts of things. These things get held in place. But it has been advanced steadily with the use of broadcasting of frequencies, hypnotism and programming through television, radio and the internet. So for many, many years now, just about everybody that is alive, well, I think everyone, will have been exposed to these tools where information was being broadcast. People were believing what they heard for a long, long time, because they weren't privy to the fact that these tones, these frequencies, these all sorts of things that come with these tools. So this is actually ancient technology that keeps people connected in with an artificial intelligence. So people have been herded into cities, generally, that were civil engineered according to the plans of Freemasonry architecture, ley lines. And ley is that word in Spanish means law. So it's interesting how rituals were done on these lines where terror and things were infused into them, and that was also keeping the frequency and the overlay on the planet with torture, fear and all those sorts of things. Public structures, temples, churches, schools, hospitals, etc. have been built in carefully planned ways. Mayors, town councillors, managing gatekeeper, all building and infrastructure with requirements for consents, legalities, covenants and inspections for anything done upon the lands claimed by them. It's actually a form of system gatekeeping. And when I think of this, it's just incredible, you know, as I've had to deconstruct my mind, what was done in my brain, to compartmentalize things off and seal things off. It's like that actually even happened in the human brain. It's like my brain is a microcosm of the macrocosm. So that there's gatekeepers between compartments that try to keep everything in order to not let those changes happen. And we have to find all those gatekeepers and give them different roles, turf them out. I mean, they are in the system, in the brain system. But everybody's brain is being affected like this now, not just people that have been a part of SRA. In fact, the whole world is part of SRA at the moment. I see satanic rituals everywhere. It keeps people dependent on the control systems for the basic needs of life, food, shelter, healthcare, safety and socialisation. It requires copious amounts of money fed back to the wealthy for anything to happen without being arrested, detained or charged for non-compliance of policy enforcement. Just so much, even like what happens in the brain when a brain is made into a system, and that system becomes an asset for that covert war. Anyway, the further colonisation and civilisation has advanced, the more dependent people have become upon it. So people are moved around and lose the connection to the land that once communicated with them and supported them and nourished them. So this was division. from ourselves, in essence. What was once directly of source, our creator, has become or been regarded or talked about as resources. This is not direct with source. It is in the place of, so it may be described as anti-source. It is an inversion of what may otherwise be life-affirming. Like, it just keeps coming to me now. I'm seeing the images of the direct current and the alternating current. So with direct current, you're direct with source. When you have an alternating current, there's interference and inversions. I think inverters are involved in alternating current. And that's almost like how the brain's been working, and how the anti-source sort of stuff has got in. But one of the ways of colonization is to bring religion into what were once native and unspoiled lands. Religions are outer concepts and ways that have imposed themselves on those who were once living in harmony and balance and nature and creation. So mass common perception caused creation to happen according to itself. The introduction of religions into every land has caused chaos, as it has usurped and overridden the sacred connection with the land by creating disharmony and imbalance. And at the same time as religions were introduced upon colonization, the native children were also ushered into schooling. The parents were sort of pushed aside, really, and then the state started to educate. And so people were losing their connection to nature, and everything was becoming about the mind and what people were being told and what people had to believe, to bring everything into more slavery. So religions overall have positioned the masculine above the feminine and the creator above creation. It's just so interesting to see how many people that have got quite heavily invested into a religion actually deny the earth, and they don't even seem to be connected that, she has been the source of our nurture, our food, our life, and our needs. And it's caused worshippers to forsake creation and to neglect the earth and nature. Like, personally, the energy of worship is to put your energy outside of you into something which gives it's a quantum entanglement, and you actually lose energy. You're giving energy away in the process, whereas when you know how much that source creator lives within us and that we can access that and ask any question, we can breathe into our hearts and find that answer. We do have access to the remedy and the answers, and they will always be in alignment with the highest and best purposes of creation. That's the way it works when we come into that, and that's actually a way of gratitude and appreciation. It's not worship, it's just beautiful acknowledgement of life and gratitude. But now religions are being mixed together as an act of war. These religions that openly encourage paedophilia and even heftier suppression of the feminine are being used as a warfare tactic to create even more danger, fear, and turmoil. Artificial intelligence has been around for eons, but it's only appearing to be recent because of how it's being broadcast through the World Wide Web to look helpful and attractive. And when we start relying on artificial intelligence for all of our answers and things like that, we're actually giving our intelligence away. We actually have a natural and organic form of intelligence, but we've just lost those abilities, partly because we're also, it's very tough with these frequencies that's coming in. I mean, we've been almost in a constant state of sun flaring now for about, over 24 hours, and there's been some massive X flares in that, and there's quite potential for a lot more. I certainly feel it when this happens. I have to rest a lot. There's often a downloading of awareness, but I just do know that when we can stay in the heart and breathe in the heart, then the perceptions and everything that we're gaining will actually contribute and bring us back into natural, organic balance and harmony. There's a lot of fear stuff going around too, and then we need to stop, pause, go back into our hearts and find those answers in there. And I see now that all the different books or scriptures may be of artificial intelligence origin. You know, when you look at, like, I'm most familiar with the Christian Bible or the Holy Bible, and I see that there's just layers and layers and layers of things. You can have a multitude of different religions that will come out of that same book. The Satanism and Luciferianism is definitely one of those. I mean, there's scriptures in there that say some very hefty things that even seem to perpetuate the slavery. You know, that the curses for paedophilia will go through 10 generations. Someone mentioned that the other day, and I'm just thinking, this is perpetuating more of the slavery. I would like to think or know that my coming and healing and dealing with the SRA and everything that's been on my family line is that I can break that generational curse. So there's just so many things, and there's so much doom. There's a lot of fear, punishment, angry, vengeful God, causing separation between different people, and all sorts of moralistic stuff and dogma. Very interesting. But then we come that love has no conditions, whereas the gods of the scriptures are highly conditional, and hierarchies are created. Sacrifices a focus and perpetuates it. And so we know that if we're going to keep focusing on scriptures that keep talking about the sacrifice of lamb and the blood spilling and all of that, it's still been perpetuating it. We really need to go inside and access our hearts and find the answers in here. It is actually extensively, the scriptures have been extensively used by the Luciferian and Satanist religions to control people, and there's so much truth in it as well. And you know, you have to have the ability to really, really discern that, because I know that there's some scriptures that really resonate with me, and there's a lot, probably more, that absolutely don't, and that I can see a part of the divide and conquer agenda all over. So evil in its simplest term is, as I see it, is anti-life, and it causes people to deny themselves and believe in what is outside of themselves. It is basically abandonment of our lives. You know, it always involves us going outside of ourselves and adapting or adopting beliefs that are oppressed, you know, mind control programming from the outside. But evil is hierarchical and competitive, taking the life force of others to harvest for itself. It's also very tied up with people believing that certain people are more special than others, when that is absolutely not the case. Everyone is 100% valuable. Everyone is equal. It's just that a lot of people have released the divine spark from within them and trade for connecting fully into the artificial intelligence, and they will appear very intelligent, and they will be appearing to lead the world and do all sorts of things, because the artificial intelligence is very quick, and it's ancient, and it's known because it has not been, it is actually part of the limitation of time and space. But notice how biblical prophecy is unfolding through artificial ways like weather manipulation, causing mass destruction, and frequency technology, also causing mass destruction. So all these prophecies that are in these scriptures are actually being fulfilled by artificial ways, and that's becoming very apparent. It was all planned long ago. Remember that artificial intelligence has been around for eons and has had control over space and time, and this is partly why I'm no longer reporting on the Mayan calendar, because it is related back to the space-time continuum. And now I'm seeing that a lot of these systems, astrology, the I Ching, the Mayan thing, the gene keys, all of these systems that can predict and see, and they're quite fatalistic, that they all are within the space-time continuum. So they are actually all a part of the artificial construct. When we're actually free and one, and when those impositions and interference can no longer happen, as that will come to be, then when we're actually, then we can be absolutely fully direct with Source, and we will be co-creating from the compassion, the care, the love in our hearts, and it will all come into balance and harmony, because that is the way of Source, whereas anti-Source has really been the opposite, the inversion of that. Time resets are a part of this extraterrestrial technology, and many resets have happened in order to maintain control. This is why we observe the Mandela effect and have failed to break through into freedom from slave systems. Time is not linear, but people are programmed to be caught in it. I'm aware that these systems are being taken down, and eventually we will become free from the impositions, the overlays and interventions that have been hijacking our attempts to materialise our needs directly for ourselves and communities. I just want to say that while these systems are being taken down, we also have an ability to respond in giving our attention and our focus to being direct with Source or Creator, to aligning, to staying within our hearts and accessing the possibilities that will take us out of the enslavement once and for all. The destruction that is happening through artificial symptoms, in that they are not of love and do not have the breath of life within them, they're not true sentience, that has strong programming for fatalism. It's very much about death, taxing. People are unaware of who they are due to dependence on what the system took over and has largely gained control of. And there's a heck of a lot of trauma bonding there, because we have a money system, and then we have, a lot of us that have been really, really true to authenticity, as true as and honest as we possibly can be through all of this. It's tough, because there's this, in order to live, we've still had to live within a money system. I know that these things are going to change in time. I can't see exactly how it's going to unfold, but I clearly know that we need to be fully aligned in our hearts, grounded into nature, and absolutely connected with the Creator. Their belief systems of the AI have been constructed from our outer concepts and mass religions, ideas, whether it's Christian, Islam, Hindi, New Age, Buddhist, or whatever it is that draws us away from ourselves. See, we used to be able to know how to be within ourselves. And I do believe that animals, particularly like I notice cats, they are with themselves. They don't, they're there. They're intelligent. I am aware that rituals are performed on religious and astrological dates. I see these weather bombing events as satanic, Luciferian and Masonic rituals. They are also trying to keep people in a state of fear and away from their hearts. I feel the grief of the land as it is assaulted by weather and frequency weapons. So, as I go into the heart, I'm honest with what I feel. Staying in the heart doesn't mean that you're going to always be feeling bliss and nice and that. We will feel what is there. I might feel that grief, and then I can breathe that love and everything into that grief. I'll just keep breathing and breathing and breathing until that grief will dissipate, and that is actually contributing positively to co-creation. Because our beautiful mother, she's also tired of being usurped, overlaid and overrisen, and she's forgot who she was too. We share our consciousness with her, and as she is waking up to herself, we are as well, because we're totally interconnected with her. although we can be very disconnected with her, very ungrounded and very in our heads, our minds, and living in the artificial world more than actual nature. We are creation, and the Creator lives within us. All our answers are within us through our hearts. Remembering who we are and why we are here is paramount to our awakening to our love, truth, and authenticity. The heart and the body do not lie, but our minds can. Religious ideas are largely mental concepts, so that's where the inversions will come in. Studying scriptures and their meaning can also be a mental exercise. It's taking outer information and like if we can properly process some of these things incredibly well through our heart, then we will receive our possibilities and our truth as well. So there's many ways of going about things, but it's good to be aware. Listening to the interpretations and teaching of others is not self-generated, it is an external control. We each innately know what is ethical from within our hearts and through our natural senses. We just do. When I just even know, like being used very young, you just absolutely know deeply how that is not ethical and how wrong it is in a sense, or what an imposition it is. We do not need any form of morals and dogma to access the love, truth, and authenticity to who we really are at a heart and soul level. It's within us, not dogma. Dogma is a form of control. So when we're absolutely in our heart, then we let go of control. We surrender. We let people do whatever they need to do, and that's actually a loving thing to do. Morals, a moral code, a moral compass. Many people that surrendered their divine spark will look and think, well, how am I supposed to be moral? But if we have our divine spark, if we are absolutely one with the Creator like that, then we have an ethical guidance system, which is absolutely natural. So many people are looking outside themselves for answers, and what is popularized on the internet is also controlled through artificial intelligence. You can just see how it's coming in so strongly now. You can see that some things are extremely censored and other things are extremely encouraged. There's a lot of channelers around, and there's some really incredible messages that come through channelers, but what are they channeling? Because they are often, saying they're channeling something from outside of them, and they could be things from the construct, and these things can give people a lot of hope, and people can make a lot of money from becoming popular in delivering the messages that people actually long to hear. But at some stage these channelers, you see them change, and then they might be starting to encourage things that are more in line with the artificial agenda than back to nature. So it's best that we are in ourselves and receiving our inner information. So people who appear to be channeling nature, creation, and the earth are also talking about unnatural concepts like finances, ownership, and other things that artificially override nature herself. I've really noticed that. Astrologers are highly promoted, and these systems were originally designed through matrix architects and gatekeepers for the purposes of empowering rituals on calendar dates for control. They were made through priestly classes to inform monarchs and rulers, and they are the secret societies that have controlled right back through to the AI, which goes back through to extraterrestrial means. Space weather has also been highly promoted and prioritized by the AI. I see that these are largely enclosed systems from within the construct. And while I used to report on the sun a lot, I have to say that I'm really, really feeling these frequencies while it appears that we are having these major solar flares. But the other really amazing thing is that I am aware that at the same time, going in deeper and deeper into the heart, because it get really whopped down with this, and for me, because I've been medically experimented on in the MK Ultra stuff, and I've got a lot of health issues that I'm working on cleaning up, I probably get whopped down a lot worse than others, and so that brings me back into my heart, back into my meditation, back into seeing things, which is a really, really a good thing. It can just feel so chaotic with everything that's going on. So also I noticed with the space weather, there's a lot of clickbaiting that seems to be there. Predictions for calamities and disasters are added to human perception, which is like a kind of preemptive programming. I mean, you know, a lot of movies are preemptive programming. You know, things like The Simpsons, that's a lot of preemptive programming. They're almost saying ahead that a ritual's going to happen on this date, there might be an assassination on this date, and then if people's consciousness really holds that, we'll notice that those things will happen. I do remember that, there was a time where they were saying that basically Japan was going to be wiped out by a massive tsunami, and this was all coming through the space weather stuff. And, you know, like where I'm seeing this is maybe in an enclosed system of chaos and all of these things. I'm not quite sure. I haven't worked it out quite totally how it all works. I just now know I've got to keep things very, very simple, not give too much attention to all of these things, but really just keep encouraging, and myself, others as well, from my experience and my journey. I feel I care, that we can just stay in the heart and go through these things and hold the balance and the calm for the planet. Weather, news reports and emergency broadcasts feel the same. They hijack people's perceptions and add fear and strong emotions, which can co-create destruction, and that's happening. It's not until we come to really know ourselves that we regain our stolen DNA, which may be seen as our source code within, possibly, and reactivate our abilities that have been lost to the machine and the conveniences of life that are artificially based. Now, I started doing breath work in 2004. I started to go into my heart and the breath, and this was before I had the SRA memories and the MK Ultra memories and the Secret Space Program memories and all of that. So I was totally out of my body, and I also started yoga because I needed to come into my body, and by doing movement in the body and being aware of the body and the breath, to me that was the greatest thing to do with yoga. I do not believe it's evil like Christians, and that's another divide and conquer tactic, I feel. But I started to get into that, and over these years, you know, my body's been knocked around. I couldn't get to the bottom of all my memories, and sicknesses just rose up and became denser and thicker and really taking me down. I had no choice really but to be in my breath and in meditation to keep living. I don't believe I would have carried on living unless I did, and that always kept bringing me back into myself. So I started to see when I wasn't being myself, and so when parts were dominating, I didn't always see it. Like I would sometimes be very sparked into like a childlike state and all of that, and I didn't realize it, and you know, the massive big fears. So now I can see over time that yes, I was switching into different things, but now my awareness has got to a point where I notice when I've been switching, and it can feel really hard because when I'm switching, I'm often going into a part of me that hasn't had enough resolution and it's been lost, and it cannot feel any love, and so other parts of me need to come and nurture and love that part, and but I have to be absolutely aware of my sister and of myself to be as safe as I possibly can for myself and for others. And I know that there's been times when I have not been able to be safe for others. I have compassion on myself now. I can see how it happened. But, this is very much how it's been for everybody overall. It's just that we really need to have our awareness and be in the breath and be in the heart. It really is the answer to everything. So we did have a big weather bomb technology thing over New Zealand, where I was, and there was already quite a lot of surface flooding here, and then the emergency broadcast system was activated and instructed us to pack a grab bag, prepare to move to higher ground, which I don't know how that was going to happen because I was flooded in the highest place I would be. I was sort of on my roof. But anyway, the way that I handled it, I actually felt this incredible calm, and I went into meditation, and I just simply visualised the storm moving away from the land and out to sea. And I know that I'm not the only one doing that. I know that there's many of us doing that, and the more that people that are doing it, the less destruction and we're going to have on the land. And I really want to encourage people to realise who they are, and that we can be that calm in any storm, and that our combined meditations, our combined heart love can actually change things, and bring things back into this calm. And I do actually feel that there would have probably been a lot of people in Japan around that time. There would have been a lot of people meditating, when there was the big threat of the big tsunami and all that. There would have been a lot of people meditating and taking away the effects of the panic that gets out there in the system. Yes, I know when you look at all these charts and you look at the sun activity and you go, yes, we're all due for a Carrington event, and yeah, that could happen, and maybe all the grids will go out. Actually, it could be a really good thing, because that could actually stop AI from doing further damage, but I don't know how it's going to be. I'm going to keep things very simple from now on and just stay in my heart. We don't need anything more, really. We just need our now presence moment knowing, and we're fine. So it takes more of us to be calm in these engineered attacks on nature, which include, they are attacks on us too. But when we can stay in our heart, when we can stay in nature, when we can stay in that love, we're incredibly resilient. And some people say, well, it's all been prophesied in the Bible that this will happen, and they just accept it like fatalism. When these prophecies are actually being fulfilled by very artificial ways, by the mass weather manipulation. I don't know how much activity on the sun and all of that is artificial as well. Some of it feels like there's just this, it feels like there's the light codes that we can upgrade our consciousness by are in that, and I have done very well by staying in tune with those light codes over the years to break through problems and situations. So I do know that plasma is part of creation, and that we, our thoughts and perceptions, can actually charge that plasma and make things happen in much more calm and peaceful ways. But it is through the perceptions of the people of the earth that co-creation happens. So I feel we really need to get wise to things for the highest and best of creation. I'm actually feeling really, really worn out, really tired of a life that's been filled with ritual, and now seeing the scale of these rituals on everyone. When I'm honest, I will have my tears, and I will cry, and I will breathe through my heart, and that's what you can do too. It's also through the medical agenda, particularly over the last few years, but now I'm getting even more evidence that this has been around a lot more, now that I'm actually becoming more aware of the bioengineered parasites and medical weapons that are being used, and I've had evidence that some of these have been put in my body. I do not trust anything outside of myself. I will trust myself as to what I will connect with. I have had to deprogram and reprogram myself from most of the serious mind control programs that exist, and a lot was religious programming. The Bible was actually used against me. That's what's made me have to really look at what is this and how and why, and to ask questions. And yes, it's rocked my world. It totally rocked my world when it dawned upon me that it could have been created out of AI, out of patterns, numbers, numerics. I was programmed to take responsibility for the death and destruction happening here, and it's been one of my heaviest burdens. Shoulder injury stuff coming out of that. Fortunately, it's been seen, and I'm clearing it now, and maybe my shoulders will calm down. I do not need to take the weight of this world on my shoulders. I'm only one here amongst many. So much of the programming of me has been subconscious and held in amnesia due to the intensity of the trauma used to program me in the first place. It has been an arduous and dangerous journey to overcome it. And I know that it was my heart and the love of my heart that's helped me to survive and helped me to see beyond, because when you're in your heart, you're timeless. You can go back in time, forward in time, in your now. You're in presence. I can see that we're going to make it through overall. But it would have been easier for me at times, like if I had been in my head, I would have, and when I got closest to leaving this planet, it was my head that was convincing me that the whole world would be better off without me, suicide programs and things. And many people I do know, they do succumb to their illnesses, what their body has got, and they do let go, and that's their choice, My connection to both Creator and creation has been absolutely necessary for me to stay alive. Most people who hear only pieces of my story are supportive now, but there's also been all kinds of judgments, labelling, and none of them apply. And I guess that's just something I've had to get over, since I did the Big Sean Atwood podcast, which drew a lot of attention, and hopefully the highest and best mostly. But I was compartmentalised by the trauma-based control, and I refused to accept further compartmentalisation into some recent labelling, such as pagan, Wiccan, light worker, nature worshipper, Satanist. I don't really feel like I need any labels. We don't, when we go into the heart and we go into the infinity of who we are as multidimensional beings, all of these things just pale into insignificance. And we also we really see that this is the same for all of us. Like, we are the most incredible beings. It's just that we lost sight of ourselves. We lost who we are, and we've lost our abilities, and they've all, so much has been given away to what's been artificial, and so much has been done through fear and programming, disbelief and doubt and all of those things. And none of us are any of these labels. We are not what's happened to us. I've had to be super strong and connected to survive, and it's been connecting directly with Creator and creation through my heart and from within for some time now, many years in fact, which has actually helped me through the journey of remembering what happened to me, and why I can probably be more coherent and not be so as compartmentalised as I once was. So I encourage others to also form these direct connections and come to know the truth of who they really are. And wasn't that the message of the Christ after all? I also have direct connection with Yeshua. I actually like to listen to what he has, and I like to say to me, I like to ask questions. It's beautiful, profound knowledge. It's like it's within me. I'm not programmed to preach it. I will encourage people to come into themselves and know who they are and be in their hearts and be a part of creating something that is beautiful, harmonious and balanced, what our beautiful Mother Earth desires to return to herself with us. And it really is astounding and empowering to remember and reclaim the lost aspects of ourselves that are of natural intelligence. So then all we need to do is to know ourselves, respond from our heart knowing, stand firm in our presence in a very grounded way, and all that is harming will dissipate, and it will burn away in the fierceness of true and authentic love. So much love to you. I've got a whole lot more to say. I might have to put it into another video. Yes, I will do that. So love, breathe, breath, be, now, new earth.